Hello and welcome everyone. Today's video features a full review guide of the brand new Tier 7 premium Japanese battleship, Hyūga. If this video is well received, I'll be able to hold a giveaway for one lucky entrant. And to enter, just leave your in-game name and the server you play on in the comments section below, in the format you see here on screen. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, so please hit that thumbs up button below the video. It really helps me out a lot, and thank you very much in advance. I will post the winner in roughly 2 weeks from the release of this video across social media, my Discord, and here on YouTube of course. So good luck to all of you. With all that out of the way, let me start as usual by putting up the build I was using in this gameplay footage. As you can see, it's a pretty standard IJN battleship, tanky and non-Deadeye build, which is pointless as the skill is being removed in update 0.10.4. But nothing really too much out of the usual, except for maybe preventive maintenance instead of something like emergency repair expert. And the reasoning behind that is, I did find the rudder felt a little vulnerable at times and needed a little bit of added protection. Now just remember, as we go into more detail of the Hyūga stats and performance, it's all based on this exact build, including the footage in this game. So just like any other battleship in World of Warships, its solid foundation starts with its armor layout. So here, just using a simple port screenshot, we can see both the aft and fore end plating both consist of 26mm. This is pretty standard stuff at Tier 7 and can bounce 356mm shells when sufficiently angled. It's very important to remember though, being at Tier 7 these days means you will very often be forced to play against Tier 8 and Tier 9 opponents. So you should always be aware of the threat of opponents being capable of overmatching these sections. So angling as best as you can is a real requirement. Even a significant number of Tier 7 battleships are capable of overmatching both your bow and stern. A simple rule of thumb here is any ship with main caliber guns of 380mm and above will be able to overmatch your bow and stern. Hyūga gets a main belt armor of 299mm, an upper casemate of 199mm, and an extended section of 149mm, and a main deck covered in 2 sections of 35mm under the main superstructure of 16mm, and then an additional deck plating of 44mm. The main gun turrets get barbette armor of 299mm, a frontal plate of 305mm, side plating of 229, top plating of 152, and finally a rear plating thickness of 229mm. It must be noted here that the Hyūga gets an additional side plating of 32mm for torpedo protection that runs virtually the full length of the ship. Just a small section of bow and stern are unprotected. It's just not shown in this screenshot, so as to display the belt armor values. This additional plating provides a torpedo protection damage reduction of 26%, which is on par with the other Tier 7 Japanese battleships. On the whole, the armor feels okay. It's a Tier 7 battleship after all. If you do get focused, you will feel the pain, but when positioned well, it does pretty well under fire for the most part. Hyūga gets a pretty decent amount of hit points to further reinforce its survivability, 60,700 at tier 7 is very good, putting it at the top bracket, only behind the likes of the Hood and the Synop in terms of raw HP. Hyūga gets a total of 5 repair parties when using the captain skill Superintendent, and as stated earlier, this is a tanky build I'm using, and these 5 repair parties do feel pretty strong. So to the Hyūga's main guns. She gets 12 356mm main battery guns in 6 dual mounted turrets, equally divided 2 fore, 2 centrally mounted and 2 aft, with a 28-second reload time and a max firing range of 20.3 kilometers, with a max dispersion of 214 meters at that range. Quick note here, this dispersion is better than all other same tier battleships using this same 356mm gun caliber. These turrets have a 180-degree turning time of 37.5 seconds thanks to grease the gears, and can fire both high explosive and armor piercing rounds. The high explosive rounds can inflict a max damage of 5700, are capable of penetrating 59mm of armor, and have a base 25% chance of setting the target on fire, with a shell velocity of 805 meters per second. The armor piercing shells differ slightly, with a slower shell velocity of 775 meters per second, and they can inflict a max damage of 10,200. The shell speed difference is minimal, but important to remember there is a slight adjustment needed when leading a target when swapping out ammo types. One very important aspect about these main guns though is the availability of the reload booster consumable. Now you only get 3 charges in total. Again, that is the max amount when using Superintendent, but I do find them to be quite useful. The consumable reduces the main battery reload by 50% for 15 seconds. So timed well, especially later in games, when adrenaline rush has kicked in, it will allow you to get off some quick salvos in succession at anything you deem vulnerable. I would have liked to have seen maybe 1 or 2 more charges, as I tended to burn through them quite quickly at times, but maybe I'm being just greedy. I did enjoy having the extra DPM though, and again it's the first time we've seen a main battery reload booster on a non-French battleship. Moving to the secondary armament, Hyūga gets 2 gun calibers, and firstly I'm going to include the base numbers with this build. Starting with 8 127mm guns in 4 dual mounted turrets, with a reload time of 5 seconds, firing high explosive rounds with a max damage of 2100, and they can penetrate 21mm of armor. They have an 8% fire chance and a max firing range of 5.9 kilometers, with a shell speed of 725 meters per second. Hyūga gets an additional 16 140mm guns in single mounted turrets, with a reload time of 8 seconds, also firing HE rounds with a max damage of 2400. Now these can penetrate 23mm of armor with a base fire chance of 10%, with a faster shell speed of 850 meters per second and the same range of 5.9 kilometers. Now, for those of you interested, I did test a couple of games with secondary builds, but during testing I was constantly fighting tier 9 matchmaking, and with the current state of secondary builds, it just felt so punitive fighting higher tier ships. and missing all the survivability provided by the current build I'm recommending. That being said, however, I know there are plenty of players out there still using and loving their secondary builds. So just for the record, you can get the max firing range out to 8.5 kilometers, and when using IFHE, you can even increase the armor penetration of the 127 and 140 mm to 26 mm and 28 mm respectively. In theory, very good against same tier ships. In practice, however, very difficult to use regularly in combat when faced against higher tier, faster and better armoured opponents. When it comes to AA defense, Hyūga does feel a little vulnerable, but it's a familiar story for most tier 7 battleships in that respect. Hyūga gets 10 dual mounted 25mm turrets and 4 dual mounted 127mm turrets, serving as AA. She gets a base rating of 44 with an average continuous damage of only 74, which is very much on the low side. She can only fire 2 flak explosions per salvo that can inflict a max damage of 1330, and they have a max firing range of 5.8 kilometers. Her only saving grace is having access to the fighter consumable, but again only has 3 charges which provide 1 minute of cover each, so that's a max of 3 minutes of fighter cover per game. I would strongly recommend not getting isolated during a game with carriers, as they will be able to strike you with relative ease. Positioning is very important with the Hyūga, as she suffers a little on the mobility side. Having just a base speed of 25.3 knots, which can be maxed out at 26.6 knots, when mounting the Sierra Mike signal flag, you are not going to outrun much of anything. You are basically faster than the likes of Nelson, Colorado or California at the same tier, so you get the picture. When moving with a fleet, it's important to remember who you are sailing with so you don't get left behind. Hyūga gets a turning circle radius of 750 meters and a rudder shift time of 12 seconds, both of which are slightly above average for its tier, and is based on using the steering gears mod in slot 4. So finally, stats wise, we come to the Hyūga's concealment rating of 38, meaning you will be surface detected at 14.7 kilometers. Not exactly what you would call stealthy, but still better than its same tier IJN counterparts than Nagato and Ashitaka. And then finally you will be spotted by enemy aircraft at 9.4 kilometers. The surprising thing I found about the Hyūga is that when you look at its individual numbers, there is nothing really that impressive about it. Its armor is solid without being spectacular. It has a lot of hit points and a lot of guns. It's relatively slow with weak AA, and it's not exactly stealthy either, but it really is a sum of all parts kind of deal here. I actually enjoyed playing the Hyūga quite a bit, despite being up-tiered a lot, I must say. I do enjoy a good fight, and I always felt I could contribute something in this ship, despite difficult circumstances, and not being a BB main, most importantly. When I jump in a battleship, I want to have some fun with it, and the reload booster, combined with the large number of guns, really did help quite a lot in that respect. So, I do hope you found this video helpful in some way in making up your own mind before purchasing, and don't forget there is a giveaway active on this video. So don't forget to enter by leaving your in-game name and the server you play on, in the format you see here on screen in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the game, and if you wish to see some more live gameplay, feel free to come on over and say hi on Twitch. You can see the link here on screen and also find it in the video description below. Or simply come and chill out with some relaxed gameplay. I look forward to seeing you all. I'd like to thank you once again all for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more. Take a moment to check out some of my most recent videos and leave a comment below. And until the next time, keep sailing it like you stole it.